Hey everybody. Um, Thank you for tuning in. I just wanted to I'm I'm gonna post a video that I made last night of a recipe that I like to make that my mother taught me. I had a really great intro to it, but when I sat down this morning to edit it together, I found out that it didn't record for some reason. But so that's why it's the video. I'm wearing a different shirt and it's kind of a different time of day and stuff. But essentially, the intro was I was talking about I did a weigh-in on yesterday morning, and I came in at 208, and the week before I was at 206. And I just wanted to say, if something like that kind of happens, and don't let it get to you. Just make sure that you keep those, especially because things can happen. Your body can retain water and stuff. As long as you're doing the same thing, really, when you have a setback like that, just kind of reassess, your food logging. Make sure that what you're logging down is what you're eating, because you're not going to gain weight if you have a calorie deficit, unless you're gaining some muscle too. So I had been changing my exercise routine up a little bit. I'm switching up 3 days a week doing like hard cardio, which for me is getting my heart rate up to like 148 to 150 for 40 minutes. And so it's possible, because in order to do that, I have to like kind of move more and jog or run to do that. And so it's things like, gaining a little bit of muscle in your legs, water retention, all that kind of stuff can mess around with your weight. But I'm not gonna let that get me down. We're just gonna keep going, and I'm gonna switch the diet up a little bit, and I'm gonna make sure that my logging is really good. I didn't log very good the last couple of weeks, so it could be it too. I could be sneaking stuff in, but I doubt that over the last week that I overdid it by 10,000 calories. It's not possible, because there's no way. But yeah, that's what I talked about at the beginning of the video, and I just want to kind of tell you what's the context before I put this on, because it looks a little different from when I filmed it, but I got the recipe stuff all down there. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks, and I'll see you. Normally my mother makes this recipe with ground beef, but I'm going to modify it slightly. I'm gonna use this beef roast, and it's because I like the texture of like the beef roast better than ground beef in this. So because it kind of makes a really nice, when you cook it, it flakes away and makes a really nice flavor in this. So so what I've done is I kind of just bought like a roast from Safeway. It's this is like almost 3 pounds. What I like to do is make sure I get the weight of everything, and I write it down, because at the end of this, you're gonna have to figure out how many calories it is per serving. So you just have to make sure you know what you're putting in there, and keep the little cans of stuff that you're going to need for this recipe, and so that you can make sure you know what the calories are for the whole batch. So all I have done here is I've just cubed it in kind of into big chunks, and put like a steak seasoning on it, and kind of coated it a little bit. And I'm going to cook this in a pressure cooker in a hot pot, so that I can get that really good long braise, like you cooked it overnight. But we can do it in a pressure cooker in about 45 minutes. So, and I really want to get this meal prep done tonight. And I want to be, because you really can't, this if you try to cook this in all together with all the other ingredients, it's not going to cook. The other ingredients are going to burn before this cooks, because the other stuff is like really fast. It's like onions and stuff that are just going to cook really fast. So I want this to have a really good cook on it to make sure it's flaky and yummy. and then I'm going to add this in with all the other stuff later. So the first step is we're gonna cook this beef in our hot pot in our pressure cooker. I like to put mine on high pressure for 45 minutes, and then I check it after that to make sure it's flaky. So yeah, all I did is kind of like chunked it and put some steak seasoning on top of it, just kind of like regular like stuff you'd put on a ribeye or whatever, and kind of coat it. It doesn't matter if you coat it too much, because you're going to be putting beef broth on here and it's going to wash it off a little bit anyway. So that's what the meat is. So here's my clean hot pot pressure cooker, and I'm just going to put my my chunks of my beef roast inside of here, and I'm going to kind of spread them out evenly in the bottom of this. And you want this to kind of retain a little bit of the seasoning, so that's why there's kind of quite a lot of this seasoning on here. And you could put, you need some water in this thing to be able to cook it. I'm going to be using, water or any kind of braising liquid. I like to use this beef broth to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour the beef broth in here until it comes up to maybe, you don't want to cover the whole thing in the beef broth, but maybe come up so that it covers maybe about half, so half of it is underwater and half of it is on the top. Maybe about that much. It's not an exact science here, but you need enough braising liquid in there so that so that you can cook this properly with the pressure cooker. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more seasoning in here. I'm just going to put a little bit of, just kind of a couple of dashes of garlic salt, so that this will flavor the beef broth. And you want this broth to just kind of be pretty salty. We're going to be cooking onions and stuff in here after, and I'm going to use the same liquid. So I want to season my broth right now, and then when this cooks, flavor from the beef roast is going to go into that liquid too, and we're going to use the same liquid when we saute our onions and stuff. So it's kind of like that. You don't have to put too much garlic salt. If you have issues with salt, then you can use a no salt option. It's not a huge, it's really to taste, really. This is how I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the top on my hot pot. Push it down. And I'm going to set this for 45 minutes with high pressure, and we'll let it go. So I will come back after our meat is done. See how it looks. Okay, so while the meat is cooking, let me tell you the other ingredients you need. It's a very simple recipe. You need one chopped up onion. This is like a yellow sweet onion. You could use whatever onion you like. 1 can. This is about a cup and a half. About a cup and a half of these diced tomatoes with green chilies. This is a Safeway brand, but the Rotel, it's like a Rotel tomatoes with green chilies in it. 2 cans of diced green chilies. This is where the heat's going to come from. I have 1 mild and 1 hot, because I like to mix them up a little bit like that, so they're not like super hot, but a little bit more. And you get kind of a little bite and a little and another bite, and you know how that is. And then the last thing we need is a can of refried beans. And I like to use just the traditional one. That's really all. So we're waiting for our meat to finish. After the meat's done, I'm gonna put it off to the side, and I'm gonna start sauteing my onions. All right, awesome. See you in a little bit. Okay, so the meat is done cooking in the pressure cooker cycle, and it's on warm mode right now. And I started sauteing my onions, and in this little saute pan here. And we're gonna cook these until they're just a little like translucent. In my little hot pan here. So I'm sauteing these onions. I'm not adding any seasoning in here. I just put a little coconut oil in the bottom. You can use whatever kind of oil you want, vegetable oil or whatever. And I'm just gonna saute these until they're a little bit, they start to get a little bit soft here. And we're going to try to get this stuff kind of cooked off. The normal recipe is you're supposed to put it into a saucepan and kind of cook it for like 15 minutes to soften everything up and mix it together. But since our meat is going to be cooked already, we want to make sure this stuff is pretty much cooked off and warmed up before we add it to the meat mixture here. So this is about a little bit more. Now the meat is still in my pressure cooker under warm mode, and in a minute here, we're going to release the pressure of the pressure cooker and take a look at it. So we're going to release the pressure on this. We'll take a look at our meat. It should be tender and flaky. There. All right, let's see what we got here. Looks good. So let me take a look. Oh yeah, so see, this meat is just falling apart. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of use my little spatula here and break the meat up into smaller pieces. It's really tender since it's been in here in the pressure cooker for like 45 minutes and an hour. So it should break apart pretty easily. Now this is a little bit too much liquid in here for what we need. So what I'm gonna do is pull some off, because we're gonna be adding the onions. Our onions are still over here sauteing. We're gonna add the onions and the and the rest of our ingredients into that broth. It depends on how thick you want it. I want the mixture to be a little bit thicker than that. So for right now, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna add the tomatoes to this. That's gonna add some liquid. And the 2 green chilies. And what we're doing here is pretty much just combining these flavors together. This doesn't have to cook for that long, but if you notice here, this is going to add quite a bit of liquid in there too. So I'm trying to guess about, I want about a cup of the liquid in there with the meat. Looks like it's a little bit more than a cup. So I'm going to take in a minute here, I'm going to take a spoon. Let me get this combined so this can warm up and kind of combine all these flavors together. These onions and these peppers and tomatoes. Then I'm going to take a big a big spoon and take some of the broth fluid out of the meat there. I think I have a big spoon in here. Let's see. I think what I might do is just spoon it out and put it in here. This is like beef yumminess. This is that beef broth. The beef broth that I put in didn't have any seasoning in it, but we did add a lot of garlic salt and garlic salt and that steak spice seasoning in here, so it's pretty beefy seasoned. So this looks pretty good right here. It's just enough fluid. So I took off maybe 2/3 a cup of liquid out of there. I'm gonna take a little bit. It's better to have, you know, less liquid than too much. So I'll take a little bit more out, and then if I have to add more of this liquid back, I could just take this and just add it in to make it the right thickness that I want. I'm gonna take like maybe a whole cup off of here. So this is pretty much just our nice, tender, falling apart beef pieces in here, and a little bit of fluid. Nice. So I'm gonna let these chilies and these onions kind of saute together in here for maybe another 4 or 5 minutes, just to make sure that all of these flavors are kind of yummy, mixed together and cooked together. All right, so our chilies and onions and tomatoes look like they're nice and sauteed and mixed together. So I'm going to add this to our meat here. It's going to add a lot of veggie things into our meat. And I added quite a bit of fluid in here, so I'm going to go ahead and mix it together. I still have my my hot pot on warm, so it's adding a little bit of heat in here still. Okay, so here's what it looks like with our vegetables added in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a can of refried beans in here, and what this is going to do is kind of thicken it up. So, and let these kind of cook in here. This makes a really good like burrito filling. Put this in tortillas, and put a little put that in tortillas. Put a little cheese on top. Microwave it a little bit. And yeah, so the beans, we're going to mix the beans in here now. And this is going to thicken this mixture up and add yummy bean stuff. And this is about how I like it. So I'm not going to add any more of the liquid back. But what I want to do is make sure these beans get completely incorporated in here. And the beans, the refried beans are going to add their kind of own kind of flavor to it. And that's about it. And I'm going to just taste it just to see the seasoning if I need to add some more salt or whatever, but this looks good. I like the taste of that braised beef better than ground beef. I'm gonna take a quick taste to see. Yeah, we don't have to add anything to that. That's beautiful. So now what I'm gonna do is just gonna leave it in the hot pot for a little bit, just to keep it, make sure everything is good and warmed. Well, that's pretty much it. I love the taste of this, and I'm a really bad cook, but it's really easy to make, and I love the taste of it. And just make sure to log it into your Lose It. I'm gonna figure out how much calories it is, and then per ounce, and then portion it out, and I'll let you guys know later what it comes out to, but it's not too bad though. There's no added sugar in here. And all it is beef and then beans and chilies and stuff. So it's really good for you. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And maybe if you do, I'll do some more cooking stuff. But I love to do easy stuff like this. So you guys have a good one. Bye. Hey, I hope you guys like that. I just wanted to follow up. I did get the calories for that batch. That batch averaged about 40 calories per ounce. So when I eat it, I got to make sure and weigh my bowl, and then however much I put in there, you know, because 9 or 10 ounces of that, you know, 400 calories. That's quite a bit of food. Now remember, it's an average, but you have to, depending on how much meat that you use, that calories can change. The meat that I had was a little bit under 3 pounds of meat in that. And that can vary depending on the type of meat that you do. Like, I think you could probably do it with chicken too if you wanted to. But yeah, it's gonna be about 40 calories per ounce. And yeah, so that was pretty easy to make, and that's gonna last me for a while. It was over 5 pounds of food. So that's a lot. That's gonna last me a long time. I'm probably gonna have to eat it a couple of times, you know, in a days before it spoils. So it's because I want to try to get it done, you know, 5 days or so. Get it eaten down. I'll be eating it for a while. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will talk to you guys later, and I'm gonna my next post will probably be one of my older videos. I've been going back and looking at those, and I'll post something up. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.